Good morning. My name is Ann Bishop, and I work with Therapy Gardens. I've been here a few times before, so some of you may know that I'm a retired nurse practitioner. I have a master's degree in public health that's specialized in health education. Most of my career was working with adolescents and also teaching at Simmons University. But working with adolescents, you have to do a lot of health education. So when this job came along in my retirement, it seemed like a perfect match. Today we're talking about gardening, and I'm not a certified gardener in any way, shape, or form, but I come from a long line of farmers in Poland and Ireland, my ancestors, and my dad and my grandfather always had gardens, and I had a beautiful, full vegetable garden when I was a young woman and raising my child. And now I have mostly an herb garden and a floral garden. So I know some things. This talk today is how to enhance your home by adding plants and things that you can buy and things that you can grow on your own. So it's to encourage you that when you go into someone's home and you see lovely plants, it gives you a peaceful feeling. You say, oh, isn't that pretty? Sometimes they have them in beautiful pots and it just looks lovely. And there are a lot of people that think I can't grow a plant for anything, but actually there are a lot of plants that lend themselves to people that don't really think they can. This is our logo, Therapy Gardens. We also have this new program, Senior U, which is becoming really popular. So some of the newer presentations we have are on artificial intelligence and how to use your computer to buy things on sale, and lots of up and coming topics that would be helpful for people. So what is indoor gardening? Indoor gardening is just having plants inside, and it can be done in homes, offices, restaurants. You can grow anything in your house, really. Some things you might need a really deep root system, maybe not, but you can grow things in your home. And all you need to get started is a window that's sunny, some water, soil, and seeds. If you don't have a sunny home, the plant doesn't know the difference between sunlight and lamp. So you can use a lamp as your sunlight if that's what you need to do. Why would you have one? Well, flowers and plants can make your environment feel, as I said, more peaceful. You can grow your own produce and herbs, so definitely you can have an herb garden all winter long if you wanted. It has health benefits because when you're gardening, you're not thinking about other things. You're really paying attention because you need to pay attention, or else you're going to spill things on the floor or knock things over. So it's a peaceful, relaxing activity. These are plants that do well indoors. Aloe vera, we're going to look at some pictures of these plants later on, but do people know what we use aloe vera plants for? I mean, they just don't look pretty. What else can they do for us? Yeah, you can break them off and put the healing gel on. Not an open wound, but a healing wound. Monstera deliciosa is a plant that I had never heard of before, but it's one of those leafy green plants that's very easy to grow, and they are commonly at Home Depot, Lowe's, and definitely on Amazon. Pothos is my favorite indoor plant because it never dies. It's like I have had 2 pothos plants in my living room at least 15 years, and they don't overgrow too much. They kind of stay in their own little space, but they stay green and they just look very lovely. And what I tend to do is whenever I
point to it on the screen, which one is pothos?
Okay, so these are just mostly,
Pothos in that picture?
but pothos is not in this picture. We're going to see them in the next slides. What I do is when I go to a garden center, they'll have those sticks with a butterfly or flower or something to stick in your plants, and when they go on sale, I buy one. So over the years, my little pothos plants also can look like they're blooming because they have these lovely little ceramics inside the pot. Cactus, easy to grow because it doesn't require a lot of water. And I recently learned that it's easy to keep a cactus plant happy by just putting 1 or 2 ice cubes once a week in the pot and let the water slowly dissolve into the plant so you're not over-watering it at a moment's notice. And they don't really like a lot of water anyway. Spider plants are beautiful hanging plants because they'll have baby spiders that come off of them. Bird's nest fern is just a pretty fern plant. It just has a lot of fronds on it. The peace lily, someone asked about a peace lily. They're often given when someone dies. They'll send a peace lily plant because the idea is they're sending you peace, and they have a beautiful white flower. And succulents are what we see here that are like cacti. So these are some examples of plants that you can easily grow in your home. Now, they probably have some more common names. This is the Chimera doria, a resilient plant. It looks like a palm. It's small. And again, most of these plants are the kind that it's really good to not overwater. So just putting a couple of ice cubes once a week in your plant will keep them very happy. The Japanese sago palm, you need a mini palm, you'll have a mini palm tree in your home. The weeping fig tree, I'd never heard of that before. I looked it up on Amazon. They sell them under $20. They're quite pretty. It's supposed to, it's different from most of the plants with the large leaves. It has the small leaves, and it looks like a little tree. A devil's ivy. Oh my goodness, if you ever go to a house show, won't you see ivies in some homes everywhere, and they have them trailing in kitchens, and it looks like a lot to me, but they do trail, so you can put them on a high cupboard or bookcase, and they will flow down the side and give you this waterfall effect. The Dieffenbachia doesn't like a lot of direct light. It has these brilliant yellow centers to it. It's not good for animals, especially cats. It's not good for cats. So if you have cats in your house, you probably don't want one of those. The dragon tree has leaves that pop with a little bit of red, and it looks more like your aloe vera, kind of just sticks that come out. This is a spider plant example, but it's not showing you that it will send out what we call spider babies. And again, it's best as a hanging plant. Or you might have a tall plant stand and it could sit on that. Heartleaf philodendron. This is another easy plant to grow. It just likes to live in houses. Chinese evergreen. Again, it has some color to it and some design. And the snake plant is actually a succulent. So again, doesn't require a lot of work, will just grow for you. And really isn't one of those plants that you have to worry about cutting back or anything. So this is the peace lily. It needs a lot of water because the leaves will tell you when it needs water. They get droopy. Low or indirect light is fine. We're going to talk about fertilizers a little bit further on, but you can use a general fertilizer every 2 months to keep it happy. So here's an answer to the question. Who had the question about the peace lily? Someone had asked me about the peace, maybe they came and went. Anyway, she said her peace lily wasn't blooming. So this says maybe you need some fertilizer or to repot it. And repotting, we don't really have a slide on that, but you just get a bigger pot, some newspaper or something down, and some good soil, and you just turn your pot over and pull it out, and then shake loose the bottom of the root system. because it might be really tight down there. So you just shake it out. You take the pot that you took it out of and put it in the new pot and line it with dirt, and then take the pot out, and then you'll have the space there to put your repotted plant in, and then you can add more dirt around it. And that's really easy, simple way to repot a plant. And I saw that on Facebook. Because when I was repotting, you dig a hole or whatever, but this is just easy. Just put the old container pot in the new pot and put the dirt around it and then pull it out. You've got the space that you need to put the old plant in. Boston ferns are symbolic of New England. They love humidity. They're easy to propagate, so propagating them just means pulling out a little with a root and putting it in some water and watching the roots grow, and then place it in some soil in a new pot. He asks, who knows what the feathery leaves are called? And I don't know the answer to that question. Does anyone know the answer? We'll have to look that one up. Now, I bought one of these 2 years ago because I saw it in a shop on Cape Cod, and it was standing by itself, and I said, that is the most interesting looking plant I have ever seen. It's not exactly pretty, but it's like a definite conversation piece. I've had it for 2 years. This is where I learned about the ice cubes, because the directions were to just lightly water it once a week. And then I read about the ice cubes, so I've been doing the ice cubes. And I've pulled a few dead leaves off of it over the past 2 years, but not a lot. It sits in a sunny window. You can even put it outside if you want to. It looks like, it's a elephant foot because it's very big at the base and then it goes up, so it looks like an elephant's foot that way, but then it looks like a ponytail because the leaves just kind of pop out like that. It's originally from Mexico. It's considered good luck and prosperity if you have one in your home. It's drought tolerant, so if you forget to put the ice cubes in, it's not going to die. It loves full sun. And you can use a balanced fertilizer, but I haven't needed to. I mean, I would use a fertilizer if it started to look funky, but it looks perfectly okay. And it's definitely a plant that someone comes into my home for the first time says, what's that? Some people have heard of it, but not a lot of people. Now, this is how you can plant things in your house that you can eat. So microgreens are young edible plants harvested at an early stage of growth just after the first leaves are developed. That could be kale, spinach, Swiss chard, herbs like basil, cilantro, and dill, or mustard greens or arugula. Now, why do we want them? Well, I often give this talk when I'm talking about food. Why do we want to eat healthy foods? We want to eat healthy foods because they all have antioxidants in them. And why do we need antioxidants? Because our bodies create free radicals that are bad for us. They cause a DNA change and can lead to cancers and heart disease and diabetes and stomach cancers and all kinds of really bad things. These free radicals are produced in our body, and that's the fact. They're missing molecules, and they go seek out our organs to create a fullness for themselves. To get rid of them, you need antioxidants. They will come in and plug up the holes and neutralize the free radicals. So the more antioxidants you put in your body, the healthier you're going to be. And the only way you get antioxidants is through food, herbs, and spices. And pretty much all of them have antioxidants, some more than others. Some of these micronutrients will give you vitamin C, which is good for your immune system and your skin, vitamin E, that's good for your eyes, vitamin K, that's good for your bones, essential minerals like potassium, which we need to regulate our heart, and iron for our blood, and then antioxidants. Broccoli microgreens, for example, can contain up to 40 times more nutrients than mature broccoli. And mature broccoli is really good for us. It's very high on the list of antioxidants. So if you're eating the microgreens, you're really getting a boost. So all you need is a shallow container or tray. You can get these at Ocean State Job Lot really inexpensively. Potting soil or potting mix, microgreen seeds, a light source, so a sunny window or lights, which we'll talk about. And also you can actually buy a kit. And of course, you can buy anything on Amazon, right? Okay, go away here. Oh, there we go. And harvesting and using them. So harvest when the first true leaves appear, about 10 to 14 days after sowing. Use scissors or a sharp knife to snip the microgreens just above the soil line, and then sprinkle them on salads, put them in sandwiches, use them in smoothies, in soups, garnish, use them as a garnish. Just throw them anywhere. If you were sauteing some vegetables, you could throw them in the saute. It's not going to change the fact that they give you a lot of benefits. Theoretically, you could grow a lot of things in your home. You'd have to have some big pots for carrots and potatoes and beets, but you'd have to have space if you're going to try to do squash in your house. But people do, and some people actually have little hot houses or, greenhouses next to their homes, or a window that goes out. If you're lucky enough to have that, then you've got space for something a little bit bigger. But most people are probably going to stick with either microgreens or herbs or spices. You can do mushrooms though, and you start with a mushroom kit that you also would get from Amazon or Brex or one of those companies that sells plants. It's available as organic, and mushrooms grow quickly. We know that if we ever see mushrooms growing on our lawn, right? One day there's nothing, and the next day there's a whole colony of mushrooms growing on our front lawn. So they're an easy one. And then there are types of gardens. You can use almost anything for an indoor container garden. You can use mason jars, clay pots, egg crates, other recycled items. Make sure you have drainage holes and it's sitting on something. So if you're ready to buy a new cookie sheet, you can use your old cookie sheet to put the pots on. I've done that. You can get very fancy and buy things. If you buy those planters from Ocean State Job Lot, they come with a tray. You can buy just the aluminum trays that you use to cook roasted meats in and use that, especially the ones that have the little ripples on the bottom, because that gives you a little more drainage. Has anyone ever done planting indoors over a winter?
I've done some spices.
Some spices?
I will pop up windows, I put
Okay. A hydroponic garden is water. So, you see lettuce, hydroponic lettuce in the grocery stores. This is growing your plants in water with no soil. It allows plants to grow faster as their nutrients are readily available, and they do not need to expend their energy searching for roots within the soil. It can be as simple as some glass jars with a little water and nutrients, or as complex as a fully irrigated table set up to grow a vast garden of herbs and veggies. I like to use the avocado pits, and you put a couple of toothpicks in them at the same level and then stick it in a jar with water in it. And my grandchildren, they don't always take, and they'll tell you that, like some avocado seeds, you're not gonna get a plant out of them. But when they do take, the kids just love watching an avocado plant grow.
What's in that, so if you can go back, what's on the top of the jar? Like, what's that black thing? And it looks like there's a little soil or something?
It does. This looks like they have This looks like they have like a little cup in there.
Yeah,
And look, this looks like something you would buy as a kit,
okay,
but it's not necessary.
okay.
It's not necessary at all. Smart gardens. Now, this is an investment, but if someone wants to buy you a present, you can ask them for a smart garden. Or on the next page, there's another example where you've got a setup that has containers for the water, and it has usually little plastic holders with a little insert that is a growing medium, and you just put your seeds inside the growing medium, and then you stick it in the water bucket, and they give you some fertilizer to put it in. And then the light system has a timer, and usually it's on for 16 hours and off for 8 hours. And usually there's also a little light that will tell you when the water is low or when you need to put in more fertilizer. Here you can grow cherry tomatoes in your home in the winter. AeroGarden brand. This is an AeroGarden. This is on the right-hand side. You see the little plastic holders. Inside is the little growing medium. You put a little plastic cover on top of it while it's sprouting, and then once it gets to the top of the little plastic cover, you take it off, and it just grows. And here you can see they've got quite a few number of herbs in an AeroGarden that only has 3 holders in it. Indoor community gardens. Care and living facilities often have large indoor community gardens to promote healthy social activities. Do they have a garden here? Is there an outdoor garden here at all? No. They have one in Holbrook. So, I go to Holbrook a lot, and they have a whole raised garden area there where they grow herbs, and people can take the herbs. They might have some tomato plants too. But you might want to think about that for next year. Living wall gardens. You see these on Amazon all the time, or Wayfair. You look for the sales. If you like this idea, you can grow plants on the walls of your living room. Herbal tea gardens. An herbal tea garden lends itself perfectly, as we say, perfectly. Mint, borage, chamomile, lemon balm, lavender, sage. Dave, our illustrious leader, he has these twining containers in his home with tea leaves, tea possibilities planted in them, and they're pretty cute. But if you buy one of those, of course, it's about $12, so you're investing in a pot as well as in your loose tea. Now, I usually like to stop here too and just say a little bit about tea and how to make a good cup of tea. So I read this whole article on the perfect cup of tea. So the first thing is you use fresh water. You never reheat water in a pot because you've lost the oxygen in the water when you've heated it, and you want oxygen in the water to make a good cup of tea. If you're using a pot or a cup, you want to put hot water in it first and heat up the pot or the cup. Then, when you're ready to pour your hot water, and you try to get the pot just before it really boils. So if it gets to boiling, that's fine, but if you are really paying attention and you know it's about to whistle, then that's when you want to use the water. You pour it over your tea bag or your tea leaves in a little tea holder, or in your teapot, again, tea bags or tea leaves in a cylinder that you hold it, and then you cover it. So if you have a cozy that you can use to cover it, you can cover it with a dish towel. You can put a plate over your cup, or you'll always see teacups for sale that have a cover for it themselves. And then you let it wait 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how strong you like your tea, but not more than 5 minutes. And then you have your perfect cup of tea. What I do is make my own iced tea by using 2 green tea bags, and then because it's really not strong enough for me, 2 decaffeinated black tea bags in my teapot. And then when it's done 5 minutes, I pour it into a pitcher, add some water and lemon, and I have my own lemon iced tea, and I don't have to spend money on Snapple anymore. It's homemade, it's delicious. If you wanted to put a little sweetener in it, that's up to you, but you can make your own unsweetened iced tea very easily. One other tea that I just want to suggest to you is lemon ginger if you have an upset stomach. Very, very good for an upset stomach. And if you're really suffering from irritable bowel syndrome or an attack of the norovirus or diverticulitis, you're supposed to drink it 4 times a day to really get good benefit from it. And I can attest to that. Okay, the mason jar garden is actually putting some rocks and soil and your plant in it. And so it's important to remember there's no drainage hole, so don't overwater it. But it's a way, if you start your little arrow garden and you want to keep growing more plants, then once they start to really become a plant, you can transplant them into a mason jar. And on the left, they show you just putting up a wooden bar with hooks on it, and then you can just hook your plants up like that. Succulent gardens are perfect for indoor gardening. They're bright and colorful. They require lots of sun but very little water because they like to be in hot environments. They're desert plants. Some people really, really like the look of a succulent plant garden. You can come again gardens. Scallions, onions, garlic, leeks, and shallots can all be regrown. Celery works well too. Simply take a small section of the base of a bulb or stem with the roots attached and place it in a shallow dish of water. So again, if you look on the right-hand side there, they've used toothpicks, and it's I think that's cabbage. And on the other side, they're just sticking things in water. Hanging gardens, great for small spaces. And finally, the bonsai tree gardens. Bonsai trees make gorgeous indoor gardens. They're finicky and probably best for experienced gardeners, but I used to have them when I had time, and I can't say that they lasted a really long time, but they were kind of fun. Use loose, well-drained potting soil. Potting soil will absorb most moisture quickly, so check for watering often. Fertilizer. Ensuring your indoor garden plants receive enough nutrients is important. Slow-release fertilizers are helpful. They can last several months before you need to put more in. And fish emulsion is an excellent fertilizer to use every few weeks, and you can buy these organic products. Pruning. Plants love and need to be pruned regularly, but don't take more than 1/3 of the plant at a time. It's too hard for it to recover. Your plants need room to grow or they'll become root bound, so give them space, but not too much space. These are examples of grow lights that we talked about. Do you all know how to identify a plant with your phone? So you take a picture of a plant, and then there's a little circle with a center to it, and you press that button, and then it says identify the plant, and it will tell you what the plant is. If something's growing in your garden and you don't know what it is, it's good to figure out what it is because it might not be very good.